Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 282 at scavengerlife.com.
Right now, if you go to scavengerlife.com, you should see a new website.
Yep, the new website. If you're listening to this podcast, the new website is live.
Yeah, we just switched it over. It's this morning, and so so that's pretty exciting. You know, we started this podcast in
2013,
so 3-ish years, and people were talking about they just wanted some improvements. We were just using Blogger, very much a scavenger way of doing it.
Yeah,
because Blogger
cheap,
was free, and so it was a good thing. And so we've been working. It's with a guy, very cool, Eric.
Yes.
I'll actually put a link on the blog to him because he's
been an awesome
guy. And so, there's a forum. And so we assume that it's going to be a work in progress.
Yeah.
You know, we kind of set it up the best we could. We'll all get into it. And people should just tell us what they want to see. We'll see what's possible. We'll see what makes sense.
Yeah.
The whole purpose of this is just so we can keep having good conversations, that things are archived and searchable.
Yes.
And, we can bring people to just share its knowledge together.
It's awesome. I'm excited.
Yeah. And thank you, everyone, for recent donations that kind of helped pay for getting this site up. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely.
So go ahead and go over to the blog, and there's a forum there.
Yeah, up top you'll see a link to the forums.
Right. So there'll no longer be any blog comments.
Right.
When we post a podcast, it will automatically create a forum post, and that's where we can talk about the podcast. Numbers
and the podcast and topics on the podcast. But the cool thing about a forum is if you just want to talk about shipping, you can go over to that section.
Right.
If you just want to talk about buying inventory, go over in that section and start
And that's much
topic.
better than how it has been, although it's been fine, where everyone's just talking about all kinds of different things. It's within one blog post.
It gets kind of crazy.
So it was a good problem to have, that people had a lot of things to talk about. Okay, when you log in or create an account, we don't require you to use your real name.
Right.
It doesn't matter to us. We understand sometimes people just want to be anonymous online, and I totally get that. The only thing is, you just have to create a handle.
Yeah.
Like some kind of name. If you want to be anonymous, be called Anonymous Cool Guy.
Yeah, or something.
Just so when you do post, people can recognize it's from a specific person.
Right.
It's
tough talking to like 3 or 4 different anonymous people on the blog sometimes because all of them just look the same.
Because it's all anonymous. So, that's it. And, please email us if you have any problems. But as I said, it's a work in progress, and it should be fine.
So, the other big news, we got a big old concrete slab poured in our backyard for our new storage building.
Yeah, we talked about that last week, how we just started doing the work to get this storage building installed. And the first thing is we had to get the foundation done, and it turned out to be a much bigger job than we expected.
I mean, we just did not realize what it takes to prepare the ground, number one, and number two, pour a concrete slab. It's like building a house,
right.
Basically.
I mean, the building, the steel storage building we're getting, it's 40 by 24.
Yeah.
It's one of those sites where they just sell steel buildings, storage buildings, and you just order it online, and then they figure out a time and they'll come and build it. But the whole foundation thing is a whole other thing.
It's this whole other project.
And so actually we had to have the county inspector involved, and he made them do the concrete pad basically like it's for a house.
Right.
So actually it cost us about $1,500 more than we expected. So, it's a business expense. It's what it is. I'd rather have it be done right, but
that's just what has to happen.
And we'll post a picture as Ryan took some pictures out of the back of our office to show
I took video, so I might post a little video.
Cool.
Yeah.
You can see
the progress. No, but it's cool. I've never seen concrete being poured. I mean, I've seen it on TV, but I've never seen them do it, in person. So
I don't know if other people go through this, but, we'll have these ideas. We've been talking about this for a while now, about just wanting to have a storage building. And, we talk about it, and, I get my mind into it, but when it's actually happening, it's so much of a bigger deal than I kind of imagined.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just a lot of things going on, writing checks, and it's just...
and just the whole process, it takes so much longer than you think. I mean, we were gone in Ireland for essentially 4 weeks, and we thought, it's totally going to be done. We're going to come home. There's going to be a concrete slab. Not the case. So it was like several more weeks after that, and you just have to factor that in. It's like... Yeah, so basically all projects like this, they just take longer than you think, and they cost more than you think, and that's just how it goes. If you want the project done, you got to do it.
Yeah, but it really is, for quite a while when we were doing eBay, it was really kind of a hobby / possible business, and then it starts becoming a business, and now with this, it really kind of firms up. Like, we're all in.
I mean, this is
the fact that we're going to spend, $15,000 on a huge steel building behind our house means this is a real deal.
I have to say though, this is honestly, it's long overdue. I mean, we needed this storage building a couple of years ago. I mean, we really did.
We like being scavengers. We like not spending money. We like to use all these little nooks and crannies of storage buildings we have, and finally...
It's just too much.
So it's good.
But the good thing is, I do have to say, it's not... I mean, $15,000 is a lot of money. Do not get me wrong on that. But that is a small amount compared to what a lot of businesses pay to build buildings or do infrastructure. $15K is not bad for a long term.
If it makes our business more efficient and helps us not waste time, and we feel like we're selling more, then it's all worth it.
Oh, totally.
And that being said, it's something I wanted to briefly talk about before we kind of jump into our week on eBay. When we first started to sell, I had no idea that it would give us a chance to kind of change our lives.
Right.
I mean, we were just, or actually, you're the one that started it.
Thanks, I'll take credit for that.
You started selling on eBay. It was like a bit of extra cash. Yeah. It was kind of neat. And I didn't realize that selling, just old shoes on the internet is just a clumsy way to own our own time,
Right.
And pretty quickly, when we realized the more we enlisted, the more we would make, I think there was like a breakthrough when we made, the over $20,000 in a single financial a year, when we had to actually, of course, claim it for taxes when PayPal tells the IRS. I mean, that changed our life. That extra $20,000 allowed us to make different decisions than if we were tied to a regular job.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, like, for instance, the reason why we go out of the country every year is because we got to accept a job that paid to have us travel. And, it pays well, but it's not a full-time, it's money job. Mm-mm. We could have not have taken that job if we didn't own our own time.
Right. Because the situation was, our friend needed help with this weird video project, and they were like, this is in 3 weeks in London. And
right.
We were like,
And only someone who have our kind of lifestyle where we could just take off and go.
Yeah.
Could take a job like that, and it's really changed our life. And I don't know if other people hearing this have experienced that. When you get your store up and cranking out some cash, whether it be on Amazon or eBay, I feel like $20,000 is kind of the point. At least it's for us.
Yeah.
Where really it changed everything.
Yeah. It was enough to.
And then you could start to make choices. We decided to buy some as rental property.
Right.
And it's like we said, we travel, and it allowed us to make choices that we didn't have before.
Absolutely.
I mean, and it is kind of incredible that just $20,000.
Well, yeah.
Is that
exactly? Is that powerful?
People talk about I want to be wealthy and I want $1 million. I don't. Yeah, it'd be great to have $1 million, like win the lottery, change it your whole life. But I really feel like our life would change by such a much smaller amount.
It gives you the flexibility,
right?
Yeah, to make other choices,
right?
Absolutely,
because we are scavengers too, and we really made that $20,000 a powerful amount of cash, you know.
Well, yeah, and that was in the beginning when we had zero expenses. Right. We had no mortgage. We had student loan debt, but right. it was pretty low. So this week, honestly, was a huge week for so many reasons, but this is another reason why. We actually hired someone to help us with eBay.
Yep, we've thought about it. We talked about it. We've listened to people. We've interviewed others, sellers that have hired.
It's been like years of thought.
Yeah, we definitely back into this stuff, but you know, we listen to a lot of people that have done it so far.
Yeah.
We know they've talked about putting ads in Craigslist and getting their family to do it.
Right.
And this just kind of, I stumbled upon this. We have a local family who, as we know, we keep bees and they keep bees, and we kind of borrow equipment from them.
We're like beekeeping buddies.
And I was taking some honey over to their house and some equipment, and I met their daughter, who I'd known it before. And
yeah, we met them. We had dinner with them before.
And she's in her 20s, and we just got to talking, and she was kind of still in college some, didn't have a real job, and so I just thought, wouldn't that be great? Like, she's like the perfect person to hire.
Yeah, she lives in the county, she's got a flexible schedule, she has like night classes, and we were like, and we've met her before, and she's like one of those people who you're like, you can tell they're super smart, you know, they'll probably catch on pretty quick. And when you asked her, you emailed her, right?
And so I did it through an email where I just kind of wrote her about what we did, what we would want her to do,
right,
and how much we would pay her. And then I just asked her to come over. And then actually you're the one that's kind of been handling training her.
So part of it was, she said that the first part where we knew, okay, this is going to be okay. Number one, she's in her 20s. So she's on the computer. Like, she gets it. She's not like, how do I use a mouse? She said her and her friend had posted some stuff on Etsy that they had made. It was like some knitting and crocheting stuff. And I was like, okay, she gets it. She gets how to sell stuff online. She gets how to take pictures for online. That's a good start. You know, eBay's pretty much the same thing. So she just started this week. It was on Monday. And, you know, I basically taught her how to do my, just taking photos, but using the phone to take photos for drafts of clothes. So I'm working with her at the same time. I make, you know, like 20 drafts for, say, men's jackets. And then she goes in with a phone. We have an extra phone that we use for going to Europe, and I just put it on airplane mode, put it in Wi-Fi, and she takes pictures and puts it into each draft and kind of does the title. It does very basic measurements, like for shirts and jackets, it's just the chest. And then she saves it, and then I'm on the computer as she's going, and I'm listing them as she goes.
Right. So she's not actually listing the entire thing.
Right.
She's just taking photos.
And giving me measurements, if any.
Right. And so we're, you know, this is just our first week. I don't know, you know, we'll see. We have like high hopes. We've been talking about all these things, like when we bring all of our inventory into one place, maybe she could even help us ship. I mean, I don't know. It really opens up a lot of possibilities, but that she doesn't really know about.
Right. Like we have all these grand plans for her, but the reason that we do is, honestly, I worked with her for 3 days this week.
Right. We told her we could afford 15 hours.
Right.
And we're paying her $10 an hour.
Yeah.
For right now.
So this week our schedules worked out so that we could both work 3 different days. So it came out to like 10 hours. There's a few drafts I have to finish today. We listed like 220 items.
Right.
Of clothing. It was all clothing.
We had a huge pile of clothes, so we were able to get through
It's still huge, but it's almost done.
So, you know, it's good, and we're excited, and again, it's just one of those things that we'd been talking about it for a long, long time, and then suddenly it happens,
here it is.
And now it's like, okay.
But the good thing is for us, I think we were very hesitant for a long time. Number one, for money, but number two, because we were like, how can we teach anyone to do this? But the great thing is we're starting in a slow stage. Like, look, just take pictures. I'll give you the drafts. And the reason I feel confident and like, okay, I'm soon hopefully going to bump her up to actually listing or doing most of the listing and then giving it to me so I can research prices. Because right away, she did things great. And anytime I asked her to like change things, make sure you get this tag and get closer to the pants because I don't want to have to crop it. Perfect.
Yeah.
No issues.
So anyway, that's a big thing for us. I think like what people have told us, it's all about choosing the right person. And, I don't want to get too exuberant about it. She may get bored.
Anything good.
The whole thing that it's good for us is that she's very flexible, but she wants it to be flexible. She's still a young person, so she's doesn't seem to be looking for a full-time job. But
so far it seems good, and I'm happy with it. I was very stressed about it, and then it turned out fine. I was like, oh, this is actually wonderful. This is great. So
just another kind of experiment in our eBay adventure.
Yes.
So let's talk about eBay for this week for us. I've been noticing that eBay seems to be doing kind of continuous updates to its site, and other people have mentioned this too, that there seem to be in this mode of they're just tweaking and changing and updating. And I mean, a sudden, eBay's starting to not feel like it's from 1998,
Yeah.
There are still links where you'll click where it looks like the old eBay, but for much of what I am on the new, it's Seller Hub.
Yeah.
It feels fresher.
Feels pretty fresh, yeah.
And one thing I noticed, if I go to my orders and I go to all orders, it says, you can choose like its period of when you can see all of
like
its
31
orders.
days.
Right. It now has a link that says it reviews sales back to 2015. So it gives you basically you can see all of your sales for 12 months.
That is so interesting.
Which is interesting, It gives you all this little data. I mean,
I wonder if everyone can see that.
Maybe. I don't know.
I wonder if because a lot of times they just roll it out incrementally. So, review sales back to 2015.
I mean, I find like a lot of the kind of stats that they give you aren't so helpful for sellers like us, since we sell individual items. It's once an item sells, it's gone. These kind of stats are better for people that like keep stuff in stock. So they have like 20 items and they sell hundreds per of those. Yeah. And they can see, how well, like if they're selling an iPhone case, how it sells better in March than it does in August. It's for us, it's just like quantity sold, one, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's good to see that. What I think is interesting, and I don't know if anyone at eBay ever hears this, but I wish that they would do this. I wish that they would give you 12 months of information on sold items across eBay. So when you're doing research, it doesn't just give you 30 days.
Because they have that data.
Right, they have that data.
They sell that data. That's the problem.
But why not just give that to everybody? And I don't know if that's like a load problem on their servers, if people are bringing up huge databases like that.
That's a good point.
But it would be nice to just see
It would be amazing. Or, I think we mentioned this before, what would be awesome is if people who subscribe to stores get more data. Like the higher, it could be tiered. Like if you have a basic store, you get, 6 months. If you get a medium store, I forget what it's called, it would be, 6 months. And then if you get an anchor store, you get 12 months. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of don't like the idea of you have to pay for more
access.
I kind of just
I get that, but
I like that there's an even bar where everyone gets access to the same info.
Just 12 months, 1 year worth of data.
Because we believe in equality.
I do too, but they are a big corporation, so.
So this week we've had really, I think, pretty decent sales. It's been pretty steady. We haven't had like big things sell, so it's been steady, just kind of bread and butter items.
Our favorite term, bread and butter.
Yeah, we've been making about $200 a day which makes us feel good. I want to, especially as the holidays starts getting into here, I want to be like $300 a day.
$500
well,
a
yeah,
day.
but in its reality, that's when it'll start feeling like holiday time for us.
Right.
And like as Ryan said, you guys with our new helper,
Yes,
it's really started to do well to
just
list.
crank out those listings, man.
You guys are doing over 200 items, and that's double what you can do on a good day.
Right.
You know?
And also I had to think about it too. Like, we paid her this week, and I have to think that this is just the basics of business. When you're paying someone that money, you're not just losing that money you paid them. You're gaining in productivity, and you're making more money than they.
If you think about it, so she worked how long?
She worked 10 hours.
10 hours. So we paid her $100.
Yeah.
We got over 200 items done, but why don't we say it's 200? And let's say each one on average sells for $30.
Right.
So that's $6,000. So if you think about it, she helped to get $6,000 worth of inventory up for $100. I mean, I think that there are people here who would be like, sign me up.
That's crazy, right?
Let me do that. I mean,
exactly.
That being said, she didn't do all the work,
right,
but it made your job easier. And in some ways, she is doing what I was doing.
Right.
Taking photos,
right,
which I can't do for the next several months because I'm every day working at this property we have that we're fixing up, and so I'm there as managing those guys.
And the other thing too is, while this construction project's going on and we're running the farmhouse and we're doing that, and I get distracted with a million different projects. So having her there for those 3 hours makes me focus, because I need to keep up with her drafts. Like, I have a handful of drafts that I have to do today because she's coming tomorrow, and which is good for me. That's good, because I'm like, from noon to 3, she comes over, and that's what I'm doing. I'm not doing anything else. Like, if anything else needs my attention, it's got to wait till after that. Right. So that is actually very good, because...
And something we learned, too, is that, we can't treat people or ourselves like we're robots, I mean, the idea is, well, if 3 hours each day is good, we'll have her work, 8 hours. Right. But we found, though, 3 to 4 hours is really about the max before everyone starts getting bored,
tired, and burnt
out. And so it's about having a maximum amount of efficiency in a short amount of time.
Like 3 hours straight of taking pictures of like women's jeans, I'd be like, okay, I'm done now,
And we're for ourselves, we're always afraid of burnout, and that's why we're always trying to sell different things.
Yeah,
change things up. I think with having a helper, we're trying to do the same thing with her, not to get her bored on one type of item or make her work for too long.
Yeah. We did one day, which was 4 hours, because she could stay longer, and the day before we couldn't do anything because actually the power went out. So it was good, because she was like, yeah, I can stay an extra hour and it's fine, and we're kind of on a roll. So it was perfect. You just check in with the person. She's like, yep, that's fine. So I think that's good. That's always been good for us personally in our own work, because I have to take lots of little breaks so that I'm not just like, burnt.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to just briefly mention Amazon. We've talked about how with their new pricing, where they're going to now charge a long-term storage fee for any item, not just multiple items, but single items. And they now have a window where you can send, supposedly, if I understand right, anything back for free. So, and that's, I think, until tomorrow. And so we have 800 items in our Amazon store, and I don't know if we should allow it just to go during it's Christmas time, and it's because we've never experienced Amazon during it's Christmas time, and are we going to sell a lot of these things?
Right. And
then, or should we just send it all back now while it's free?
I want to keep stuff there for holiday.
Okay.
That's my opinion. But what I do want to hear is, I would love to hear from other Amazon FBA sellers. What are you choosing to do?
Right.
Are you sending everything back? Like, what are you doing?
Right. I read one guy's site where he actually broke down the it's math on how much it would be per item to keep in long-term storage. And, obviously it depends on the size and all that. But basically, I think it's going to cost us 30 cents for 6 months. So when February comes around and they charge us a long-term storage fee for items longer than 6 months in their warehouse, it costs us 30 cents per item to keep it for another 6 months.
Gotcha.
And that's versus if we want to mail it back to ourselves, it's 50 cents.
That's interesting.
Or have it destroyed.
It's more expensive to mail it back.
So I don't know. I think we're going to gamble and let Amazon. We have 800 items. Why don't we see what happens during the holiday? And maybe they'll have one more.
I think they will.
Window. We can't count on it, but I think we're willing to gamble.
Because the window ends tomorrow, and I'm like, I don't want to think about it.
And one final thing about Amazon, and I'd love to hear other people's experience. Again, when they announced that about the long-term storage fee, our sales just dropped. I mean, we're selling. It used to sell 4 or 5 things a day. Now we're selling 4 or 5 things a week. And again, I don't know if that change caused a lot of people just to lower its prices.
Yeah.
And so, everyone's just selling stuff for super cheap.
And so our prices aren't as cheap. Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
But so I'd love to hear what other people's experience has been.
Right.
Okay, so let's talk about the numbers for this week. As I said, we had a pretty decent week. We sold about $1,700 is worth of stuff.
I love that number.
Between our 2 stores.
It's a pretty good number.
Yeah, it's not bad. And like I said, it was pretty steady, but it's nothing huge. We sold it's 50 items. In our main store, we sold about $1,400 is worth of stuff. And then in our second store, we sold 8 items. It's worth of stuff for $250.
Yeah.
So, that's keeping the lights on, and it's been good.
So one thing I want to mention real quick that I forgot to mention under random, which we haven't really had any random things today. Together, I had sold 2 things. I had talked about selling 2 things, and I noticed one of them had free shipping. None of my listings on eBay that should be ported over there have free shipping. So that should not be the case. And I actually contacted support about it. And they told me, because I hadn't looked at all my listings, they told me all my listings have free shipping. Which is weird because I sold something else that did not have free shipping. So
is there a way to go in and change that?
Well, honestly, this week has been insane, so I didn't look at it yet. But I wrote to them and I was like, can you please fix it so that it ports over all my shipping costs? Like, I'll have to delete my account if there's no shipping costs. I got no response.
Right. I mean, it's like I said, because they don't take a cut of the pie. I mean, they don't take a piece of the action.
Sure.
They don't take it.
Okay, I get it.
A vig.
Yeah, all right. Jesus.
That, I imagine it's like 2 guys who built this site on a weekend, learned how to, scrape eBay info, and I don't know what their end game plan other than just make it popular and have someone buy the site or something. I don't know. Right.
And I mean, honestly, I was glad to make 2 sales. I'm like, great, I'll take sales, I'll take sales anywhere, but they have to be correct. Like Bonanza has the correct shipping price on it. So hopefully it's a bug and they're going to fix it, because really that cannot be the case where you're just giving people free shipping.
Right.
It's not like Craigslist where people are picking stuff up,
Right. Things you sold this week. So we sold, a bunch of clothes and shoes. So 15 of the items that we sold all week were either clothes or shoes. And, this just shows me how when we focus on a category, because that's kind of our thing, we kind of get bored of like selling artwork, so we'll sell clothes again.
Right.
And so we've been kind of focusing on clothes for the past several months, and that's the stuff that sells.
Yeah, it's been selling.
That's kind of just the way it works. And I'm sure at some point soon we'll kind of get tired of doing clothes and shoes, and we'll move on to playing cards.
But we do have a lot of playing cards, and it's funny you said that. The thing is, a lot of people buy clothes on eBay. And, I think more people buy clothes on eBay than they buy weird collectible things. Although, like you said, 15 items were closed, so that's a little bit under half of everything we sold. So people do still buy weird other stuff, you know.
Oh yeah,
but,
no, I mean,
but a lot of people buy clothes. Like anybody could buy clothes, you know,
right.
whether you're into vintage or not. You could buy, you know, anything.
Right. Customer issues. We did have a woman bought a fur coat from us for $250.
It was $275.
A really beautiful coat, and she wrote us and said it smelled bad,
musty,
or musty. She said it needed to be cleaned. It was going to cost her $100. She asked if we'd pay half of it, and Ryan and I made an executive choice just to give her it's $50. And just be done. And she was like, "Thank you so much," and she was happy.
And I'm pretty sure she left positive feedback after that.
Yeah.
The great thing about that sale is, it was a super old coat that we'd had forever. It was in a good place where it should not have smelled musty, but whatever. Giving her back her $50 still gave us a sold price of $225.
Right.
So once we kind of looked at that, we were like, okay, we'll do it.
Yeah,
you know?
I mean, you know, like that's a case where we could have just said, send it back, full it's refund, and then we just resell the coat. But for us,
I didn't want it back.
We find fur coats are just very difficult to sell. And this was a really nice one, too. Like, it wasn't like an old, ratty one. It was like a nice...
Well, it was like a 1970s type deal. It was like a trench coat. It was actually fur-lined. So the fur was on the inside.
Yeah.
So it was a very particular coat. And the other thing she said was, I had this pretty much exact same coat a long time ago, and it got ruined because it was stored improperly. So I was so happy to find this. And I'm like, number one, I don't want the coat back. Number two, I want to keep my $225. So that just worked out. And
I will say its reaction to people really depends on how they write us.
Right.
I mean, if people are writing us and they seem like a normal person and they're really trying to do the right thing, we'll do the right thing.
Right.
When people come at us really aggressive and angry, I have to actually stop myself from, you know, doing the same thing back. And that's why we have that, like, attitude of just trying to be as professional as possible, and to use eBay rules to kind of to make boundaries, you know.
Well, also, like, you're really good at keeping it neutral and just saying, send it back. If you're unhappy, we take a return for any reason. And that, in turn, if people are just, like, fishing for money or they want a refund and they don't want to send it back, you're calling their bluff. You're like, if you really are going to send it back, I'll refund you.
Yep.
But if you really are just trying to get money back for nothing... you're like, I still want this, but I want money back. But, you know, like, you kind of call that bluff. So that's always helpful.
So this week, our coming week, will be like, again, it's a busy time between now and it's Christmas. I'm working on a totally different project other than eBay.
Yeah.
We are renovating a house that will be a rental income. So I'm there every day, and then it's Ryan's holding down the fort here, keeping the eBay engine going, so money can come out the other side, and we can actually pay for these other projects.
Yeah. So that's kind of the deal. Is like we're kind of double timing here, where it's like you're working over there. It's super important that you work over there, and the great thing is those guys don't work past 1 or 2 o'clock because they start at 7:30 in the morning, and I get up early, do some stuff, list some stuff in the morning, pack stuff. Then, you know, our helper comes at noon, and then we work from there, and then I work till nighttime, and hopefully that is generating money to pay for the other thing. So, okay, so we're going to listen to a few voicemail call-ins. You can always call us and leave a message or a comment, and the phone number is 540-407-8486, and you have 3 minutes to leave a message.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. This is Alex, and I just listened to your podcast about getting out of debt by selling on eBay, and quite a bit of it focused on dealing with reps, and I have to pass on what is now humorous. At the time it wasn't, and why it's so important, if you don't get what you want, call them back and get a different rep. I called yesterday. I was trying to list a concho belt, and it would loop me around, and wouldn't let me list it. I think they were still having computer problems. So I called into eBay, and the responses I got were, I said, I'm trying to list this contour belt. And the woman said, are you Native American? And I said, well, no. And she said, well, you have to be Native American to list something that's Native American. So I thought, oh my God, I got off of there real fast. She had no clue. The next one I got, I still couldn't list, and we went round and round, and they were both trying to be very helpful. But she told me that, probably the reason is because you're using a laptop and not a desktop. And I said, I've been listing for 3 years. That has nothing to do with it. So I was a trainer for corporations for years, and I know how hard it is to get people up to speed on everything in a big company like eBay. But the best advice, I think, from my point of view, is like what you said. If you don't get what you want from a particular rep, just be very polite, say thank you very much, hang up, and call back. Because hopefully you'll get a rep that is more experienced to help you out. The other thing I wanted to comment on was the woman who called in, and she had been receiving threats and whatnot. As a single person, I decided about a year ago that I was going to go to like mailboxes, etc., or pack mail or whatever, where you can get for a small fee per year, you can get an address, not a P.O. box, but an actual physical address. So that your packages will look like they're sent from that address and not your home address. And any returns that come will be sent to that place. And of course, they will notify you when it comes in. It's just kind of a safety factor. So love your podcast. And by the way, I was struggling finding things out west. I have moved back east to Virginia. And things here, like you said, there's tons and tons of stuff. So it's much, much better place to be doing business. Okay, thanks so much. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
That is a great story. We find the same thing where, and that's why we say, if you get an eBay rep who's not understanding or not helping you, just say thank you and call back.
Right. And a lot of times too, and this sounds weird, but you as a seller, you know eBay so well, you know the rules because you use it every day. All day you're using it. You're using returns, you're using the listing functions. If you list as much as we do, you know eBay inside and out. So when you're calling a rep, a lot of times they may know some of the rules, but they might not know everything, and they probably don't know some of the weird glitches that might be happening and stuff. And she's right. I have had more success. It takes more time, obviously, but you want to solve your problem.
And the thing is not to argue.
Yeah, you're not arguing.
Once there's a disagreement, you just say, okay, thanks, see ya.
That's what I do.
Okay.
If they're like, we can't remove this neutral feedback, whatever, that's just an example. And I'm thinking, I'm pretty sure they can. And you know what? There's been times where I haven't been able to remove that stuff. That's true.
Right.
But there are so many more times that I'm like, nope, I know the rules. I know I'm right. I'm going to call back either today or tomorrow.
Right. And something I found too is that what happens is we have kind of a list of problems that need to get solved. Mm-hmm. And when we find the right person, a rep who's either experienced and or feels empowered, then we clear the deck of everything.
Yes.
Like, so when did you get that person be like, okay, I have this, and this.
Well, last week, I explained it last week, but here's a good example. I had a return that this woman was returning for color, but she said it was item not as described, but she said it fits great, I just don't like the color. He closed that return case, and because I had a similar issue through neutral feedback, someone said it wasn't the right color, he took that neutral off. I was like, as long as this is a very similar thing, but even if it's not a similar thing, I'll still, if I get a rep who's like, yep, I'll fix that, no problem. I'll say, I have another issue on such and such. Can you try and look at that too? And sometimes they won't be able to solve it, but sometimes they will. So once you get a good rep, you keep them on the phone, basically. Yep. Because you know what? Like, you pay fees to eBay, and you should keep them on the phone.
And I like what this person said, too, about you can get a P.O. box, or actually not even a P.O. box, and you can buy an address.
Right.
If you're worried about that. And I get that, if you're worried about putting your info out there. And yes, I do believe on the East Coast there is a lot more stuff because there's a lot more people over here.
And it's I know it sounds weird, but like I honestly find that we find a lot more antiques and stuff because it's an older part of the country. I mean, to be frank, I mean, I see the stuff that Sheldon finds up in Massachusetts. It's stuff from the 1700s.
Right.
You don't have that stuff in California.
Right.
You just don't.
But I don't know. Is that being said, I don't know. I don't want to give anyone excuses to complain too much.
That's true.
There is stuff everywhere, and we see people who sell in all different parts of the country, and they're selling well. Right. Midwest, you know.
Yep. Oh my God.
We see people in California doing well. I mean, I think we all just have to have different strategies.
Right.
And if you depend on like that one store, I used to be able to buy stuff there all the time. Now it's more expensive. Right. There are more people. They're putting stuff online. Well, okay, stop going to that store.
Right.
Go somewhere else.
Exactly.
Or, as I said, and I know it's extreme, but if you've chosen scavenging as your way of life, I know I would consider to move. You know, I mean, that's all I gotta say. I mean, if you're depending on scavenging to earn an income, then you got to go where the scavenging is. You know,
I agree with that.
But that's totally extreme, and I'm sure very controversial.
That's fine.
Hi, Jay and Ryan. This is Jackie from Virginia Beach, and I wanted to give you a ring in regards to a situation that has really sucked a lot of my time this week. I had a customer buy a pretty expensive coat from me. Let's see, it was $138.99 with $17.04 shipping. So the total was $156.03. They received the jacket in the mail and sent me an email that it was too small for their neighbor whom they bought it for. So, of course, I just responded through eBay saying, no problem, send it back. I have 30-day returns, and I do have a 20% restocking fee. I've had two issues recently where I think because of the 20% restocking fee, people are trying to circumnavigate the eBay return system. In one case, it worked out okay, and I didn't lose anything, but in this particular case, I feel like I've lost. So the customer never responded back to the original email on eBay about go ahead and return. You can do so through the eBay easy return system. About 9 days later, they opened up a case in PayPal, and they opened up an item not as described case in PayPal. So this has been going on for a little while. I did get the jacket back, and it was in the condition that I sent it out in, which is great. But PayPal refunded them the original shipping, and of course they're not going to support me in getting my 20% restocking fee back. So here's the part I wanted to pass on to everyone. I've spoken to about 4 or 5 different representatives of PayPal and burnt a lot of my time doing so. And basically, the bottom line is the last rep I spoke to said that if somebody opens a return case on PayPal that is not for a fit issue, then PayPal will close that and not support it. The first rep and then the future reps in between were not forthcoming with that information. So basically, I did not get to get my 20% restocking fee, and I did not get to get my original shipping, although the very last rep did kick in, I think, and help me out by giving me some of the money back in regards to the original shipping. So with return season coming upon us, if somebody opens a case for you in PayPal, against you in PayPal for a fit issue, you might want to be aware of that technically they're not supposed to be able to do that. All right. I hope everybody has a good holiday season. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, that's a good story. We heard that from other people on the blog during the week because we talked about that is last week where, how you can get things closed on eBay, like get the case closed on eBay, but, people were telling us that, but then someone could go to PayPal and open a case there. And that's totally true. I will say, though, I think that, so we've been selling since 2008. We probably sold over 15,000 items. I can only maybe think of 3 times where someone's opened a case against us on PayPal, and I'm pretty sure we've won every single. Yeah. It's one of those. Mainly because they'll say things like, I didn't get it, and we just give them the tracking number and it's fine. Yeah. So it
sounds like what you need to do is have the information from the closed case on eBay and provide that, and if the rep is not accepting that, just like we said before, call back and say, this case got closed on eBay. Yeah. It's for fit, something like that.
So, and it's with these things, if this has happened to you, then I get it, and it's not a good thing, but just in our experience, it's such a rare case that a buyer will try to go through eBay, and if they get blocked there, then they'll go through PayPal and win there.
Yeah, it's rare.
Our experience has just been that doesn't happen to us.
Right.
So I just think sometimes people get, not the person who called in, of course, but I see on the blog some people start hyper ventilating about how angry they get that this is happening. But really, is it really happening to you, or are people just getting upset that it could happen? I mean,
yeah.
I guess anything can happen. It's just like anyone can take you to court and sue you, but it doesn't happen very often. So.
Right.
All right, that is it for this week. We have a lot of work to go do, and one of those being making sure that the blog is up at scavengerlife.com.
Yes.
If you go there, you should be able to see a brand new site. It's all the same content. We were able to pull over all the old content,
including the comments.
Now it's a new place, a little fresher, a little cleaner,
and it has forums. Yay!
It has a white background, which people seem to like, and it has a forum too. So go there and help us make it better. It's a work in progress. You can leave a comment or question on something that you heard here.
And that phone number for the voicemail is 540-407-8486.
We, of course, post an episode every Monday. So, and you can just go there, and there we are. On Wednesdays, we post a What Sells It video, and we've taken a break from doing that, but our friend Steve, he's kind of taken over that, and you get to see Steve and his dogs and his cat. He lives in the Midwest. He really focuses on a lot of stereo stuff.
Yeah.
But he sells a lot of cool things, and we always learn a lot from him. You can subscribe to us through iTunes or through YouTube, or you can also just go to the site and put your email in, and you'll get emailed anytime we put up a new post.
Yes.
If you're interested, you can listen to our other podcast, and that's at shampooandbooze.com, and that's where we talk about this growing rental business that we have, that we're using our eBay as money to invest in. It's basically like it's retirement, since we're self-employed.
Yes,
that's what we're doing. And if you want to, it's wintertime, we would love for anyone who wants to rent our vacation farmhouse to do so. It'll be cold, but we have great heat. It's still beautiful here. It doesn't really start getting cold till like January, so there's still plenty of time to do a lot of hiking and enjoying it. And you can find out where that is at our blog. Okay, this podcast is ending in 3, 2, 1. Bye.
Bye.